The last thing I want to talk about with Typhoon is the indirect effect that Typhoon has on unit testing. I like to write unit tests for all of my applications, and I like to focus on the behavior of each class and ensure that it behaves and functions as I expect. So as an example of this, let's look at the declaration in the Data Dragon assembly, the components assembly, for a command or a task called clear local data dragon data task. So what this class is intended to do is, when I need to clear all data from my local device, from the SQLite tables and from the URL cache, because I cache all the images, I want to call this command. And so here's the definition, and it has two dependencies. The content resolver, which is how it executes SQLite deletes. It executes those through the content resolver. And then of course the shared URL cache that it's going to clear. So let's look at the implementation of that task here. And of course this is my initializer that it gets passed in the two dependencies. And then here's the meat of the class, the run async method. And I'm not going to go into details about the syntax used here because it's out of the scope of this video, but essentially what it does is when I run this, I want to clear the URL cache. I want everything gone from the URL cache. Then I want to go delete the Data Dragon realm, which is a table in my database. I want to go delete the Data Dragon champion data, which is also a table in my database. And finally, I want to go delete the skin data, which is a third table in my database. So when I write tests, I do not use Typhoon. I don't let Typhoon inject anything into the classes I'm testing. I want to be in complete control. So let me go down here and look at the test that I wrote for the clear local data dragon data task. And as I mentioned previously, it does four things. It clears the URL cache and then it deletes data from 3 tables. And I'm not going to go into the details of this test either here, but you'll notice that this test uses mock dependencies. So it says with a clear local data dragon data task. So when I create my task here, I pass in mock implementations of my dependencies. I don't want to use the real content provider because it requires me to set up a whole bunch of other things, and I don't really want the real cache. I just want to verify using mocks that this class does what it's supposed to do. So therefore it's much simpler just to leave Typhoon out of the equation. But because I designed my application to push all of its dependencies out and declare them on the initializer or as properties, it makes it very easy to unit test. So here's a simple example. First thing I want to test is that it clears the shared disk cache. I already saw in my real class that it does that. So I just want to test that. So I run the task and I wait for to make sure that it calls the remove all cache responses from the shared URL cache. Then it does 3 other things. It deletes data. And I just want to verify this against the content resolver. Does it delete the realm data? Does it delete the champion data? And does it delete the champion skin data? And if it does all that, then I feel confident that my tests pass. But I don't have to go to the effort of setting up all my dependencies. By declaring them on the initializer, it gives me the freedom to just pass in mocks, and I don't have to go through this complicated setup. So yet another nice side effect of using Typhoon and dependency injection. You should do this anyway when you're designing your classes, but when you use a dependency injector, it kind of forces you to do this, and it's a great side effect.